Now, of course, any building starts with a foundation. And if you remember, or if you followed me on Instagram, my dad and I, we basically cleared this lot. It was all trees and stuff like that. And then with the help of some bulldozers and some backhoes and stuff like that, we kind of knocked over all of the tree stumps. They did put in a septic system right over there. And then it was time to contact the concrete specialist. The guy who's doing the building, it was a contact of his. And they came out, and it shocked me how quickly the foundation went together. I mean, they spent a good week doing the forms and stuff like that, and it's kind of surprising to me that, well, about 6 inches below the topsoil right here is solid limestone, and in that topsoil is a lot of kind of loose rocks and stuff like that. So this isn't one of those situations where you had to put deep footings and stuff like that, especially in central Texas. We don't have a frost heave line. Most foundations just sit right on the rock, and in fact a lot of places right here, people got away with just setting their homes on, you know, rocks sitting on top of the soil, and that's just fine. Well, I kind of thought that because of the solid bedrock underneath the foundation, that we would have a lot lower slab. But what they told me is that because of water runoff, because water doesn't run through rock very well, you actually do want it to be about 6 inches higher than the ground, so that when flooding does happen and when you get water runoff, it's not going to come into the building. Now, that did not mean that they had to do it 6 inches up, because hey, we are in Texas Hill Country. No land is flat, and we do have that rock underneath it. The idea of flattening the ground before you put the foundation on doesn't make much sense. So basically, you raise the foundation up so that it can be a flat level along the highest point, which just so happens to be right there. So it's about 6 inches above that area right there, which puts it about 2 to 3 feet over on that corner. But that is not all concrete. Again, I was new to this one. There's a lot of fill up there, and I don't know how thick it is in the middle, but you know, maybe 6 inches thick right there. But I did know that they put deep footings all around the edges. What I didn't know is it seems like every 12 feet, they also put another deep footing running across and checkered. And that's where you have the majority of your rebar, because it's the rebar that's holding this one together. Unlike the foundation on their home, which they had those bars running across it, they squeeze the foundation to keep it solid. The rebar is holding this all together. And after that, you know, we came up real early in the morning one day. I was here at 5:30. The crew showed up here at 6 before the sun came up, because it is in the dead of summer. They wanted to get it done early before the sun baked it. And within about an hour, they had this thing entirely filled with concrete, and then they leveled it off, and then they waited a couple hours, and then they got out their whirly gigs. And whenever I see those whirly things, I always thought that they were just smoothing it out. But when you watch them, basically they start those whirly gigs about the time that you can barely walk on the foundation, and you sink just a tad bit. And it seems to me it's creating a slurry on that top layer of the slightly done up material, just watching it. Because when I first saw it, it was like grading the top. It was smoother before they put those whirly gigs on it. But they kept going over it and over it and over it as it dried, and the more it dried, the harder it got. The slurry it was using was finer and finer and finer, and it just kind of developed this paste that was filling in all the smallest of cracks and little crevices and stuff like that, until finally it was just polishing it. And there's a lot of spots in it where you can actually see the sky's reflection. It was so shiny. They did such a good job. I was pretty impressed with that one. I did not know that that's how you got that smooth surface, was just creating that pumice, I guess, out of the concrete itself, and grinding that pumice smaller and smaller and smaller until it was a paste that glazed over. And one of the very first things my dad and I are going to tackle is building a little porch on the back with stairs, so that we can get back up into this back storage area, which is where all our drying bowl blanks and stuff will be. But all this area back here, we have for log storage.
All right.
Well, it is now mid-September, about 8 weeks since they laid the foundation. And while the progress has been really fast, when the people are here, it's dragging on. Right now, they're actually about 2 weeks behind from the initial quote of when they would be ready to turn the keys over from us. And this right here only represents about, I think, 4, maybe 5 days of the crew coming out and working. I mean, when they show up, they really do work fast. It's just, 8 weeks and you only get those few days, and they're doing other projects. So it's just kind of dragging on. But it'll let me kind of walk you around the progress we've made so far and how they are building it. Now, as I discussed in the first vlog, this first open area is a carport. It's a 3-car carport, but in reality, it's going to be basically 2 cars and a shop annex for me to roll power tools out here to work with. And please understand, we are trying to save money on this one because in reality, this is probably only going to be, a 15 or 20 year residency for us here. We're all kind of getting up to that age. We did make a few design changes in the name of saving money, in that the back door we relocated from the side to the back. That will save us money on building a deck, because you can see it comes up quite a bit, and if we built a deck there, we would have to wrap it around to get to the back of the area too. Now, the basic construction is 2x4s, mainly for saving money, and we don't need a whole lot of insulation for a workshop, especially in Texas, on the outside of the building. The building is being wrapped with a zip system for waterproofing instead of that normal plastic wrap. I think that is much, much better. They're still obviously working on that. I am very, very glad with the roofing structure. We do not have the normal trellis system, so that leaves that whole area up there open for us to use for ducting for our dust collection and stuff like that, to keep all that piping out of the way. Because even though this is going to be a 10-foot tall building, I will be using all of that space for storage and other stuff. For example, more than likely, we are going to be creating a lift to lift my CNC machine up out of the way towards the ceiling when we are not using it, and dropping it down to rest on top of the table saw when we are using it. So that ceiling is important to me, and I will also, having worked in warehouses for so long, and then going back and working in a garage which had a lot lower ceiling, there's a certain stuffiness that comes with the lower ceiling. I don't know if it's a volume of air or something like that, but I personally like having tall ceilings. I would have even liked to go on 12-foot, but 10-foot was a good price compromise for both of our desires. Dad is going to have his window right here, but with the change of putting the door there, I'm not sure he's going to be able to put his craft bench. He kind of wanted to have a craft bench where he could look out the window, but there isn't that much room there. Also, you can see we laid out on the ground where the cabinet will be that we're going to be building to store a water heater, air compressor, and dust collector. And that, because we couldn't put it in this corner anymore because of the new doorway, it moved over here. So, maybe we won't have as much room in the walkway. We'll work on that one. Maybe we'll remove the door over at a later date and put all this on this side. Who knows? This will be our storage area. I'm bringing over my storage racks, and they are going to be going up here, and then me and Dad will hardy side the back of those to create that exterior wall right there, and that'll be a lot of material. And while I haven't talked with the Dad, I'm probably going to see about putting a deck, continuing that roof along there, and making more storage just on piers and wood out here, just for our drying goods. And we will have lots of room for storing logs and stuff. Now, a lot of a vlog is the experience of doing the project, and I'll admit that the time constraints is kind of frustrating me a little bit because it puts me behind on other stuff and kind of scheduling. But you're depending upon other companies or other situations out. They have other projects they're doing. We are in COVID. I don't know how much that is affecting it. And plus, I'll admit, it's been extremely hot in Texas these past few weeks. So that, I mean, I would have given my crew off those days, at least in the afternoons, just because of the heat. And it might not have been worth it to come out if you're only going to be getting a half day and have the entire crew coming. So I don't know what I was going into, but right now we're about 2 weeks behind from what we were supposed to be. Hey, it is what it is. Oh, look, the neighbors have come by. Hi, guys. How are y'all doing? Y'all doing okay? Be sure and pick up all those acorns, and we don't want any left. So it's a few days later, and the latest update is the framing crew that did all this work so far isn't coming back. The contractor's finding a new framing crew to finish up the work they had out there. And, you know, maybe that's normal, maybe it's not. I will say this, the way they left it and what we were looking at, I'm almost kind of glad we were getting a new crew out here. Let me show you a few things. Now, granted, the contractor, because, you know, again, this has only been 4 or 5 real work days, has not been out here since the foundation was laid, and they installed the electrical pipe that's going to be running into the building later on. They haven't seen this yet, and on the phone they said that they were going to come out, review the work, and tell the new crew, whoever comes up, what to do. But here's some of the things I've noticed so far. As you can see, they started doing zip sissing on it, and it doesn't seem like this zip sissing would be that big time constraint. You would think that they would do it all at once. But obviously, all they've done is laid tape down. They haven't rolled it yet because, A, you don't see any of the Z impressions in here that tells them they've put enough pressure on this for this to adhere over time. And that pressure would have compressed all of this stuff because I can just put my finger down there and you can see it seals up. So it's kind of like they just, maybe last minute, just threw some tape up there to appease a boss or something like that. But here's some of the big things. Look at all this structure for the roof right there. That big beam is 3 of these LVLs designed to span all that distance for this carport, so they didn't have a beam over there. They've obviously cut a nice beam to support all the weight over there, but they miscut the other side. So they have installed this entire roof, and all that weight is now sitting on one 2x6. Because this one over here is kind of loose. If I just pull it too hard, it's going to come out over there because evidently that one's longer than that one. So all this weight is temporarily sitting on that because they miscut one board. They didn't have a backup or anything like that. Why even build all this structure without the beam that goes right there to support it? That seems kind of dangerous to me. Other things that even my entry I notice is a lot of the panels that they've installed. You know, you miss one nail when you're doing that thing, it's no big deal, but you miss an entire board, it's not even attached. And there are a lot of them up there like that. I don't know if that means that they misspaced the 2x4s, or when they were nailing them, they just didn't bother to check. It seems to me if you're using a nail gun, it would be pretty obviously if you miss a board because you'd shoot the nail straight through. Oh, look, and the neighbors are here. Hello, how you doing? That just don't look right to me. That can't be how they do that kind of stuff. The other thing that's a bit of a concern is I've been told that this is the junk pile. And to me, that seems like a lot of very useful material. So probably at the end of the project, I'm going to sort through all this and grab what I can. Maybe we can install a shed out back with all the excess stuff that they were ready to throw away. But to make the best of the situation, Dad and I are kind of in one of those things where it's better to ask forgiveness than permission. We went kind of proactive, and we came out while nobody was here. We have laid out in chalk mark where we think all our tools were going to be, because the drawing we had really doesn't show you the feel of it. So you put the chalk mark out, the table saw, and all of a sudden you can see how far back your back leg needs to go, how much room feels comfortable around your workbench, where your shelves are going to be, and that kind of stuff. And doing that one, we feel that, yeah, this space is a lot smaller than we thought it was going to be. So just a little bit of rearranging from our initial drawing, we now are comfortable, and we know that we're going to be putting a lot more tools on wheels outside around the back that we don't use that much. But by doing that, we can now go through the entire place and put where we feel we want electrical outlets so it will be comfortable. And it's different from a drawing than sitting here. Oh, my workbench is here. Yeah, I would like plugs here and a plug here for easy access. And at this point in time, adding electrical outlets is cheap. So now that we've got all these blue stickers where we want plugs and what kind of plugs we have, Dad and I are going to go ahead and install all the outlets so that the electrician can come in and just run wires and install the plugs. So we're just installing all the boxes so that we get it exactly where we want it. And then the electrician can't say that he didn't know, because we did the work. Well, a new crew came out and they went ahead and started working on the soffits. They squared up all the rafters. They go ahead and drap hardy board on it, and the same crew is going to be doing the roof and the undersheathing. I'm told a separate crew is coming out in a few days to begin doing the hardy board walls on the side, which is why we had to go ahead and get all the boxes done so that they could do the trim work on that. Hopefully, while they are doing that, Dad and I can begin the first project video for y'all to see. We're going to be building a landing and stairs out back, which I showed you earlier in the video. Haven't talked to Dad about the designs of that. I'm kind of hoping for maybe a timber frame design so we can play with some cool joinery. Anyways, this is the second vlog of this series, and it wasn't quite what we expected just because it dragged out for much longer. In the future, once we get the keys to the building and we can start doing projects, I expect the vlogs will be just kind of a week in the life kind of series explaining the experience as we work on the individual projects. But hey, I'm new to this vlogging system setup, so maybe give us some comments down below on different aspects you think we could improve on it, other than, Sean, you just talk too much, you need to speed up the project, yada yada yada. And remember, stuff like this is always worth the effort if you're learning and sharing with others. Be safe, have fun, and yes, we're making progress even though it's slow.